So, hi everybody. I'm Morpho Knight Claire.
And I'm just Isaac today.
And this is
Make
Make
That
That
Game,
Game.
where we pitch the latest.
The greatest.
Wait, I still end. Oh, video games that will never be
No,
made.
that's not
Wait,
how it
what
goes.
is how it goes? Oh
So it
man,
goes
we
where we
flipped
pitch the
it.
latest, then greatest, and then new video game ideas, and then that will never
Oh,
be
new
made.
video. See, I'm not usually on this side.
I always have it open.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's okay.
All
Ready? You want to
right.
try again? Want to try again?
I think that this is good content. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right.
Is this not
Moving
good?
on. No,
Should
it's
we?
great. It's good content. It's all about the content.
Yeah. So we okay. We have a little bit of a different episode for y'all today. If you couldn't tell by that different opening, if you are a avid listener of the podcast, you know
That's different.
that was different in a weird uncanny valley kind of way. Well, that's what this whole episode is going to be, folks, because we are hot off the tails of SGDQ 2022.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo woo! Yeah, yeah. And we are going to basically be doing our recap of that. I personally have not touched video games except for watching them this past week.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I played, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I played a little bit later, but I did continue to play Kirby a little bit. But yeah, most of our free time for the past week has been spent watching speedruns. So, Isaac, do you want to tell us a little bit, if the listener missed our other two episodes that discuss what SGDQ is? What the heck is SGDQ? What are we talking about?
so SGDQ is Summer Games Done Quick. It is a week-long speed running and video game showcase marathon where all of the proceeds go directly to Doctors Without Borders, also known as Médecins Sans Frontières. I think I did that right.
You did a great job.
Which is an organization that helps get like healthcare into places that is pretty hard to go. So people donate money, there's prize incentives, there's sponsors. If you subscribe to their Twitch channel, they get some portion of money. If you buy merch from Fan Gamer, that money goes to MSF. And it's just it's a week long. It's a great time. There's a lot of community engagement that people are showcasing like really high skill levels in a bunch of video games that you may never have heard of, and just showing like just what people can do with enough time and effort. They can discover these intimate things about video games and use it to just wildly break the games apart. We're talking like Elden Ring, which I have so far put like 87 hours into, maybe over 90, done in 30 minutes because you can just make the horse fly. Like you can bounce through walls, and they showcase all kinds of stuff like this. And then they also showcase just extremely good gameplay where they can go through like a Mario level without taking any damage at breakneck speed because they've memorized exactly when they need to jump, and it's like all muscle memory.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you who might not know, a speed run is just that. So basically, it is doing a video game as fast as possible. And there's lots of different categories for what that looks like. So there could be any percent, which basically means just to get it done as fast as possible. It could be 100%, which means you have to get every single like collectible or beat every boss or whatever it is. And then they also create their own contingencies based on what game you're playing. So it might be like all dungeons or all of these certain collectibles or whatever it is, right? So each one has kind of different parameters, and you just watch these people do games really quick. That's why it's called Good Games Done Quick, because that's what's happening. And it's just really, really fun. It's just a good time. So overall thoughts, we're going to start there. Isaac, what was your experience like this year for Summer Games Done Quick?
So this was a pretty fun one. So their schedule, so this was their first live one since the pandemic began. They've been doing it virtual, and they're getting back into the groove of things. I felt like the scheduling was a little off. I will say that in previous years, I have basically been able to glue myself like completely to the computer screen, and thus never really needed to pay that much attention to the schedule. Like I would know just based on like the upcoming games whether a game I was interested in or not was coming up, and I would just keep watching, and then I would watch until I was bored, and then I would turn it on later. uh if I saw in like in upcoming in 3 hours something caught my eye or something. This year I had a little bit less like tan I don't know what phrase I want to use, but a little less free time,
Mhm.
whatever. Uh, so the schedule was a little bit more important, and it felt a little sloppy. Which
Yeah.
is not to say that this was not an amazing, awesome event that I loved every second of, but we printed off the schedule at the beginning of the week,
Oh my
highlighted the
gosh.
games that we wanted to see, and then threw the schedule out because within like 2 days it was completely wrong.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I tried to be so organized because, now we're scheduling between the 2 of us because we live together. We both work from home, but we still, like, have to work, so it's like, when are we gonna watch these things? I timed some lunch breaks well so I can hit some games. Um, you know, Figuring all that out, and we, like, highlighted what we were interested in. We were, like, paying attention to the days, all this stuff, and yeah, by the second day, everything was about 2 hours late, and then Friday morning, we were like, "Let's just print day to day because it's gonna change." I printed one out literally Friday morning, 2 hours later, all the times were different. I was like, "This is
and like
pointless."
wildly different. It wasn't just like we could be like, oh, it's 45 minutes off.
No,
Uh,
they were
so let's just think of it that way.
because they skipped some games, like,
They,
some runs got canceled or people stepped down and things, so yeah, it was all confusing.
yep. Um, Oh, another overall experience. I another year has passed where I've made a bunch of donations and I haven't gotten it read on stream, which
No.
is a weird thing. I'm not too fussed up about it, right? But it's just I try to time it right. I don't know why this is like a goal of mine, but I want to feel part of it more so than just like behind the scenes putting donations in. So I'm like, all right, if I donate at this time, maybe they'll read it in the next reading, blah blah blah. And they just never read mine. I'm not special enough, but they do read a lot of like heartfelt. One time I donated during a game, and then like immediately after me, like the parents of two of the speedrunners like donated like really long heartfelt messages, and I was like, well, of course they're not going to read mine now, they got to read the parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I if you had can you access what you wrote? Because I was like, "I'll read them for you right now. I'll make it special. We'll read it over the podcast air." But I don't
I
know if you can see that
cannot.
again. Yeah.
No, you can see like your donations, but it doesn't show your comments.
One of the fun things people do, and both Isaac and I did, is donate based on your favorite Pokemon's Pokedex number.
Hmm.
And this can vary from like doing it like $3.10 or like $301 or whatever it is. Um, yeah, so that's kind of fun too.
Got to represent Mawile or 303.
There you go. There you go.
um
Yeah, and so I guess speaking of heartfelt, I did really want to touch on that Zelda beta situation.
yeah, that was one of the runs that I wanted to talk about too, but I'll let
Okay.
you drive.
Yeah, because it's not so it wasn't what it was. It wasn't really a run. It was what do they call it? Exhibition. So just kind of showing
Yes.
something cool. And what well, I think Isaac, you might be better at describing what was going on, but they basically had a robot using a controller, and it was an yeah, see, I can't even remember what gaming system it was on, but it basically like made you want to cry, even though I hadn't even played that much Zelda. Like it was
so
like the most emotionally moving game experience I'd ever witnessed.
so what I'll explain a more technical sense, I guess. So it was for the Nintendo 64, and they had Tazbot, which is a robot designed to basically do things, do inputs
A
that like
robot
humans wouldn't
does
be able
things?
to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what Tazbot did for this is they had 3 physical N64 controllers hooked up to it, and Tazbot had the ability to do precise inputs in such a way as to they call it arbitrary code execution. So basically, by doing these inputs, they could rewrite the game live without modifying the cartridge in any way. So it was the normal Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on an unmodified 64 with an unmodified cartridge. But because Tazbot was able to do these inputs in the background, it could change cutscenes, it could change text, it could take inputs from the internet and put it into the game. It could generate new textures, et cetera, et cetera. And what they did for this, that they called it a beta showcase because they showed off things from the beta build of Ocarina of Time that were still hidden deep in the
Mhm.
memory or the cartridge in general.
Yeah, they
So there
used
was
they
certain,
used a lot of that to, like, build their game, or their
yeah,
version, I guess, of the game.
yeah. So like they took graphics that they could access and kind of pointed them out and talked about like the story implications of some of the things that they found deep in the code, and then they kind of built a scenario around it to showcase these effects. I don't know how much of it was custom. Like they fought a man
Oh, yeah. This was really
that
good.
you normally like race him in the game, but they made this storyline about how he found the power to warp through time, so he would always win the race. But if you use the Ocarina of Time, you could go back in time, get to the point where he would be and like beat him in the race, and then he's like, okay, I'll give you a reward. And they show a beta rupee uh color, which then explodes as a trap, and then he fights you, and he's got this really funny fight. As so I assume all the animations and maybe even the AI must have been part of the beta build. See, that's where I'm a little confused about like the specifics of
Yeah, I think we need to
what was
learn,
happening there.
like, a
Like what?
lot more about this. Like, we also missed the very beginning, which is unfortunate, so there might have been
Yeah.
some descriptions of what was going on that we did not, get to witness, but yeah, it was touching. It was just
Yeah.
incredible. So if you wanna look up that and watch that, they have that available to watch, so,
Yeah, without
um,
spoiling it, definitely I
yeah,
I,
and
I
any of
recommend
these.
everyone.
Yeah, really. I mean, like I said, I've only played the Switch version of Link's Awakening for Zelda games, and I still was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." So, definitely check it out. And the what was I gonna say? Oh, that all of these are available to watch. So the speedruns we talked about, if you're interested in seeing them, you can check that out. Can you hear the beeping, or is that in my headphones? I can't tell.
That's just in the headphones.
Okay, thank goodness. All right, sorry. So I was going to say that all of the speedruns we talk about, they are available to watch. I believe you can go to can you go to
Twitch.com games done quick.
gamesdonequick.com. We'll take you to their Twitch page and you can see other video on demand, or VOD as the fancy people call it. So we'll try not to spoil too much as we talk, and if you want to check them out, you definitely should. But yeah, the other thing about this, I guess, is just didn't sleep very much.
Yeah.
We were up really late. One of the big ones that everyone was super excited about was Elden Ring, which Isaac mentioned, and I did. So one of the games I played this week was Elden Ring. Woo!
To get hyped for it, to
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 get
to
hyped
get the
for it.
context.
Yeah, so I
Uh
wanted to know like what it felt like to play and kind of what the mechanics were, so that when I watched them completely break it, I would understand. I
uh,
would like feel it.
Speaking of Elden Ring, I one of the things that I thought was really cool about this event that fits into this overall experience category that we're talking about.
Yeah,
So Elden Ring itself was 3 a.m. last night, or like 1:30 a.m. or 1 a.m. It was like late last night slash
yeah,
early
or
this
early
morning.
this morning. Yeah,
And they had an incentive to do Elden Ring any percent. So the big game that they showed was 2 hour all remembrances, which was basically fight every major boss in the game, fight and defeat every major boss, get the item that they drop, which is the remembrance, and that's the category. Then they had an incentive where if you donated money, you could say, I want to put it towards this incentive. I want to see Elden Ring any percent afterwards. So they have a 2-hour Elden Ring run and a 30-minute Elden Ring run immediately afterwards. But by the end of the Elden Ring All Remembrances run, they hadn't raised enough money to they hadn't raised $2 million. They were like $15,000 off. And it ended, I think, like right around 2:50 a.m. And they basically said, okay, well, we'll keep this open until 3 a.m. and we'll see how much donations we can get. And by like 3 a.m., they went from 1,990,000 or something to 2 million and even above. They made like 20K from donations.
Well, you mean 3 million and above, right?
Yes.
You
I
said they went
actually
from
don't remember. I'm sleep deprived. I don't remember numbers.
because you said they went from 2,990,000 to 2 million.
Oh, yeah. Well, the point I'm trying, regardless of the numbers involved, I'm pretty sure it was like 20,000 or more dollars in like 10 or less minutes. And then we got to see the Elden Ring any percent, and they blew the game before them away just by time.
Yeah.
Literally as a third or less, a quarter of the time.
I think my favorite part was, which wasn't from this part. So I will say, as much as I prepared and got hype for Elden Ring, I did fall asleep before even the first one was
No.
over. I was like, I just couldn't stay up. I thought it was kind of good because I actually really liked playing the game. And so I think it's good not to see too many spoilers of like what's to come, although I was getting some good strategies for some battles because a lot of the battles, they weren't actually doing glitchy things. They were just kind of being smart about like,
Yep.
how to fight this boss, and I think that's always helpful for me to see is like the strategy behind those kinds of fights. But you know, some of it was just glitchy fun. My favorite part of that was the pizza one, pizza swap or pizza cutter.
Yeah. The
We're
one
not
of the
going to say exactly what it is.
No, but one of the best things about GDQ in general is seeing these sometimes hilarious glitches. Okay, Pokemon any percent run.
Oh my gosh,
They
we
showed
gotta
off a
talk about it.
glitch. Yeah, they break a cutscene against like the final. If you've played a Pokemon game, there's the Elite Four, there's the champion, and you have to be the champion to get the to get to become the champion yourself and beat the game. So they do this glitch that allows them to skip, basically walk past all the Elite Four and just move past them. But when you go into the champion, it puts you into a cutscene and you're usually forced to fight them. But they were able to glitch it in such a way that the cutscene starts and they just break out of it, run a circle around the champion, and then like
Hop
climb
on an
up an
elevator,
elevator
yeah, and
and
you're like, oh,
completely skip it.
okay.
One Pokemon battle in the entire run.
Yeah. And this one, so right before, well, not right before it on the schedule, but like we said, the schedule went out the window. There was so an any percent glitchless, which means you don't have to do everything, just get to the end, but you can't use any glitches, which I think are less fun to watch just as a sidebar because the glitches are kind of what we're here for in in GDQ, but whatever. That took like almost 3 hours. And then this one that was the incentive one that Isaac was talking about was an any percent but like glitches welcome, and that took, I think they ended it, wasn't it 17 minutes was like the
Yeah,
official end. Yeah, so just to show how much those glitches took away of game, like it was just that was incredible.
that's what we love to see.
We do love to see it. All right, well, Isaac, we talked a lot about a lot of great things we watched, but what was your favorite game that you saw that was something that like you already knew about and love?
So I'll say the Elden Ring one, just because. So the All Remembrances, it was the perfect balance of like skilled gameplay and funny glitches.
Mhm.
So the Pegasus glitch, where they jump on the horse, exit the game, jump off the horse, exit the game, walk up to a cliff, fall off the cliff, exit the game, the horse falls off the cliff, and then the horse just flies from then on.
Yeah, that was
Funny.
amazing and hilarious.
Hilarious. There's some bosses that they can sneak into using this glitch or other glitches, and then the AI just never triggers, so the bosses literally stand there while they fight. And then there's some bosses that they actually have to fight, and there's pretty precise like movement, pattern recognition, knowing this move is safe to use when this boss uses this move, or I need to dodge during this because I will get killed in one attack kind of deals. And it was just a nice showcase of all kinds of elements, and really like that kind of run really makes you appreciate like Elden Ring, like a game that you're super familiar with that kind of run. You're like, wow, this is something really cool.
That's awesome.
How about you? What was your favorite game that you had experience with?
Yeah. No, my favorite was definitely the Kirby Forbidden Land one. I mean, I was hyped for that, and it lived up to it. It was so fun. I think my favorite part of the speed run, yeah, like yes, there were like some fun glitches and like some things that now I can actually try on like on my Kirby, and that's fun. But like, I think my favorite part was the couch. So the couch is where, so basically how this is set up for those of you who might not have watched, you have the speedrunner who can often narrate what they're doing, but also sometimes have to really focus because some of these things are super precise and they can't, talk and do it. So they usually have 1 to 3 other people who are on the quote unquote couch, which this year was like comfy chairs. And they talk about, and they kind of help narrate. So these are usually other speedrunners who've played this game before, and they're kind of narrating what's going on for you and helping you like understand. So it's fun to watch. And I just thought the whole group, so the speedrunner and the couch, like they just loved Kirby so much. And it just made me so happy because like this is a game that I think I've attached myself to pretty quickly and like has quickly become one of my favorite games. But it's brand new. So, and I know sometimes people are like, ugh, the new ones, ugh, but they're like, this is like in my top like 3 Kirby games. Like these people who like are like real, like into it, like literal professional gamers. And then like they're they're playing the game and everyone, every level, they kept being like, this is my favorite level.
Yeah, they
Like
everything was their favorite part.
everything was their favorite part. And I just thought that was just, it was just so fun to see like, wow, like this game that I love, like these people love it too. And like how, I don't know, it was just like a big Kirby party and it was awesome to watch. So that was definitely my favorite. I did want to have an honorable mention though for Turn Up Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which we did wake up. That should have been in the last question, but we did wake up super early for. I made croissants for. um, we had, we had a good little time with that. It was a really good run. I think that one didn't quite make favorite just because there wasn't a ton of like those funny glitches. Like it was pretty much just strategy, like here's how to move fast or like how to avoid certain like dialogue scenes and things like that, which was interesting, but there wasn't like a hilarious like, and then I walked through a wall and like,
Yeah.
like it was a pretty,
No
which
big skips.
I guess it means it's a pretty well built game. But I
That's true.
absolutely I absolutely loved that it was there. And I really enjoyed watching that run, and I thought the runner was awesome. And I also enjoy that there's like some Turnip Boy merch available to win that we won't find out if we won until August, but we'll let y'all know if we do. So I just it was so great to see Turnip Boy, which is also one of my absolute favorite games here at SGDQ. I was like, I just so pumped. Like again, so pumped that we woke up super early to catch it, and it was worth it. It was well worth it.
I also want to bounce back to the overall experience and point out that during a lot of runs, watching people, the way that people play, Claire kept saying, "That's how I play.
Oh yeah.
That's what I would do." Like they just run past enemies or avoid talking to people, blah blah blah. Like she was like, "Oh, I have the speedrunner brain." In the Kirby one, they used fire a lot, and that was her
That's my
favorite
favorite. Yeah.
one.
Although now I can't use because I've been using Dragonfire, but the animation at the beginning of it is too long. Apparently, they said so. If I want to speed run that, I gotta use a different fire. But yeah, I was talking about. I think I do have like the soul of a speedrunner. The only thing is I don't go fast. But like my instinct in a game is always to avoid as many fights and conversations as possible, which is also a speedrunner's goal. So
Y'all, you should have seen her playing Elden Ring.
just run, just
Like
blindly running
at the beginning of the game, and I'm sure that this is actually the intended way to do it, but like all the Dark Souls heads probably were like, "Oh, we got to fight our way through this." No, she just ran past like two extreme blockades filled with soldiers with like arrows and catapults and stuff, and she was just like, "Okay, I run. Goodbye."
You just gotta
Okay,
you just book it.
you
I
just book
mean,
it.
they give you bushes for a reason. Okay.
Yeah,
You crouch, you run, you crouch, you run. I'm playing the it wasn't actually called a rogue, but it is a rogue. I'm
bandit.
the rogue. I'm the rogue. All right. But yes, so I found out that I do have the soul of a speedrunner, so I just have to learn how to go fast with it. Because I will say, like, one of my Kirby things is I like to float over conflict because Kirby can kind of float. It's not really flying because it's not fast. That's not a good speedrun strategy, but it is a good avoid a fight strategy. So,
Yeah.
but yes. So Isaac, what about one of the great things, obviously, about this is we get to see some new games. So, what was your favorite game that you saw that you didn't really know very much about and then got to see the speedrun for?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say Slime Rancher. It's a game I'd heard a lot about, but I think that the run was so Slime Rancher looks like a fun game in general. It looks like something that I would want. And it also had a nice mix of like some glitchy things that you do and just like precise movement and knowing like I need to collect this many items at this point in order to have them for this thing that I need to do here. And
Mhm.
one of the glitches was like you pick up a slime and like you can jump up walls by jumping on its head and like basically infinitely jump upwards or something. I don't know. I need to look more into it, but looked like a really fun game.
Cool.
How about you? What was your favorite game that you did not really have any knowledge of? Like,
Yeah. So mine was part of the Silly Block, which is also where we saw Turnip Boy, and it was Muscusy.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and that one was basically so if you played Untitled Goose Game, this had this like those vibes. The runners actually said it's like Untitled Goose Game, but you're an Italian man instead of a goose. And I mean, it's just goofy. It was apparently a school project for some people, but like a really well done school project. And you have a list of tasks. You move really weird. You have to like steal government stuff. It's so hard to describe, but it just looked really silly and goofy and fun. So I really enjoyed watching that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild run. A lot of the silly block was pretty good.
Silly Block was yeah. I think that's where it's at, honestly.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think silly block replaced they used to have an awful block. And I think I kind of like calling it the silly block better, even if it's the same thing in spirit, because just calling games that people have put actual effort and work into making, calling them awful, that's not very nice. So I'm
yeah, and
glad
because they're not
SGDQ
awful.
grow.
Yeah, like it's like they're just silly a lot of
Yeah.
the time. And some might be like, oh my god, the deer one. We didn't even talk about that. Deer
Oh
simulator.
jeez,
That's just unhinged.
yeah.
So it could be like super unhinged like that, but it also could be like Turnip Boy, which is a fairly quick playthrough, even if you're not speedrunning it, and has super funny jokes and is super self-aware, but is like an incredibly well-built game. So with like a deep storyline. So like that's why, yeah, Silly Block is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so are there any games that you saw that you're like, I need to have this? We're gonna get this game.
I saw a couple. So I mentioned in the last episode that I used this as like a window shopping experience, and I did it again this time. So
There you go.
obviously Slime Rancher.
Mhm.
I mentioned that that was my favorite non-familiar game, so obviously that one is going on the list. I actually need to double check it. It's on Steam. It might be on Steam sale if the Steam summer sale is still going. Um, I think that ends July 7th. Anyways,
Okay,
I
yeah,
I
still
won't
got
look that
time.
up live, but yeah, we'll see. There was another game called Battle Axe, which is a old school style top down sort of dungeon crawler thing with like D&D inspired classes. You can play as like the dark elf, the dwarf, the barbarian, and the ranger or something, and you fight hordes of orcs that spawn out of evil machines. And it was a very quick looking game. Looked really cool. It looked like a fun time, and it just looked like it had smooth, fun gameplay. There was another game called Kamiko, which also a very similar style of like so top down like shooter style game fight through hordes of enemies that like come from spawners, but it also had more of a puzzle element and it had more intricate seeming boss fights.
Hmm.
Um, then finally there was Solar Ash, which looked like a combination of Shadow of the Colossus and so roller skates are not or blades are not involved in this at all, but it looked like a skating kind of game gameplay wise. Like it was all about like this really fast. And I don't know if that was just the speed run tech
Yeah, they
because
were. They did
I
have to
tuned
go
in a little
fast.
late. They did have to go fast, but there was like a lot of really fast slidey movement that made me think that this was like Shadow of the Colossus if you were a skateboarder without a skateboard.
And also
Uh
like really, so like Shadow of the Colossus was the first game in the
oh
marathon,
yes.
and it's very like realism is like kind of its goal, and it's like very like gray color palette. This game is like not realistic, Solar Ash, and like
Very
very
cartoony.
very colorful. So that's also I think part of what makes it interesting.
Yeah. And it just mostly looked very beautiful and hit a couple vibe notes that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I got to look into that one, see what platforms it's on, and see
Yeah.
if what like normal casual gameplay looks like because
Right.
that could make or break a lot of things. Like sometimes you can't really tell whether what you're looking at is how it would like look slash play if you were actually playing it as a casual person. Sometimes they're doing like wacky speed movement tech where like, oh, if we face backwards and do the dodge button at the same time as we jump, we do a super slide that is 10 times faster than normal running. And they just do that 100% of the time. And it's like, is that the speed that this game normally? Oh, no, you actually walk relatively slow.
Wow.
How about you? What's your post GDQ shopping list for summer?
Yeah. So I mean I put Miss Scusi on there. It's actually apparently a free game, so I don't see any reason why I shouldn't give it a try.
Oh, boom.
We should probably just get that right now. Another one I thought was really cool was Phasmophobia.
Oh
This
yeah, I missed this run.
this was I saw this. I didn't watch the whole thing. It was a little hard to watch because they had four people playing it at once, so you had to watch all four screens. It was a little bit chaotic, but basically the idea is that you play as a ghost hunter, and it's a collaborative game. So you usually would have other people ghost hunting with you, and you have to like go into a house and figure out things about the ghost. And there's a checklist, and based on like what things you discover, you try to figure out what type of ghost it is. So each like house you're trying to discover what type of ghost is in this house. That's the game. Um, and it's things like, oh, like you have to figure out like where it is based on like energy readings or temperature changes. They have the EMFs and the ghost box radio and all all those tools that you see on ghost hunting shows like you get to use. I just think it's so freaking fun. It looked hilarious. Also what's cool is so if you're playing with people, which they were, um, you can talk to each other and they make it sound like a walkie-talkie. So it's like, shh, I'm in the attic. Do you
Good.
have the somebody get the sage? But like things like that. It was just a vibe, right? It was great. So I would love to try that. I think it Isaac was saying he thinks it has some VR capability. They were playing on PC, so we're gonna see like what makes sense
Hmm, hmm.
for us. Another one I'm interested in is Chocobo GP. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know this is apparently from Final Fantasy. I'm assuming GP stands for Grand Prix,
Yep.
because it is a racing game. So basically, it's Mario Kart with characters from Final Fantasy, but they're on roller skates. So speaking of roller skates, this game has them.
I think only the chocobos are in roller skates,
Ah, I thought the other
and
little character was.
the I think it depends on the character. I think I was looking and I think I saw one of the characters was like in a little buggy.
Okay, well, roller skates are a choice, which is what I care about.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
obviously you would play the roller skating chocobo. I almost
right.
said chocobo like chocolate, and that's wrong.
Yeah, but it makes me want a little bit of chocolate.
Ooh.
So yes, I just think I like a racing game. I'm a Mario Kart fan. This just looks like a cute little racing game, a little like fun take on a racing game. I would totally play it. And then my final one, we actually already have. I was playing it this morning. That's how much I wanted it. It's Super
Yeah.
Mario Maker. So this was one of my favorite runs too. They're all my favorite. I'm doing the Kirby thing. That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
You
Um,
can't do this. No, we have to have strict limits.
no, Un- overruled. Um, the so it was yesterday evening, and they had a run with where people had created Mario levels using Super Mario Maker, and then runners were playing them. There were two teams, and they were playing them for the first time. So not only did it really illustrate like how great these people are at playing a game they've never seen before, it also illustrated all the fun things you can do with Super Mario Maker. So basically, if you ever played Super Mario Brothers, this game will allow you to create your own levels, and you can pick whatever style you want. So like they have like old school Mario style, Super Mario, like they have I think 5 different Mario game styles you can pick from. Um, so that's really fun. And so I don't know, that just sparked joy in me, and I said I want that right now. And I already have made my very first level. It's pretty bad. And it's teaching me game design a little. So who knows? Like I'm just thinking, we have to play test it. We gotta like think through like how would the gamer interpret what I'm giving them. And yeah, so I'm just having a blast. I could spend hours and hours and probably will. So
Now, folks, I do want to be clear when she says that it's awful or it's really bad or however she described it, what she means is it is 100% water level.
okay.
It's so
That's not the
just to
bad
give you
part.
context.
Okay. Well, of course the first level I made was a water level, okay? Isaac was
If
laughing
you've
because
been
I
paying attention at all, you know that she loves water levels for some godforsaken reason.
well, yeah, the next one I'll make will be ice, so
Oh, that'll be fun.
yeah. But I think I do want to make a regular one because I kind of forgot that, especially in Mario, you can't really jump in water levels. Like the platforming part of the game, which is like the game, doesn't exist. So
Yeah, that one was
uh,
fun.
might not have been a good place to start, but that's where I started. Yeah. So I also was wondering, after now that we've watched all of these wonderful runs, if you were a speedrunner, which I know you're not, but if you
I have
were,
attempted to in the past, actually.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, I've done it with various games. Breath of Fire 1, which is like an old school RPG. I was doing some attempts. So there's this one really RNG, sorry, random, basically random boss right at the beginning that uh, I kept killing my runs, which is just like it's like part of it, but I just never picked it up again after a certain point. I could
Mhm.
anytime I want, but and then I've also tried Diablo 2 speedruns, but I am not very fast at Diablo 2 at all. So
Mhm.
I'm not a speedrunner, so this question still applies. But
Okay.
as
Yeah.
far as like which GDQ game I would play, or which GDQ game we watched that I would speedrun, that is a tough.
Oh, I didn't necessarily mean watch, just like any game.
Oh,
Like if
oh,
you were a speedrunner, what would you run? What would be your game?
oh!
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one that we watched.
No.
Interesting.
Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Okay. Well, then I guess I sort of answered it by saying the games that I've attempted.
Yeah.
But dang, there's a bunch of games that I've looked at. I really like the idea of speedrunning RPGs. I've
Mhm.
watched a lot of the World Recce's for those, which by the way, you can go to
Com.
speedruns.org,
Oh.
I think, and you can look up any game. Oh, it's speedrun.com. You can look up any game pretty much, and you can see a bunch of videos and what the categories are for pretty much any game. Like I just went to it. Cities Skylines, which is like a Sim City mod, has categories, or not a Sim City mod, a Sim City like game, so a city builder game
Mhm.
has categories. You can speed
Yeah.
run a city building game.
Even
Uh,
yeah, The Sims has them. So yeah, anything.
Yeah, like so what was Sims like pregnant percent or something like?
There was one that was like you have to with you have to get abducted by alien. No, I don't think that aliens was part of it, but you had to like get married and have a baby. And the person who was speed running did it by getting abducted by aliens because you can get alien pregnant that way, and that was faster to have a baby than to have a baby after getting married. So you basically could be like dating and flirting with this person while you're alien pregnant. Anyway, The
So
Sims.
so yeah. Games that I would want to speed run, there are actually too many for me to count. But I will try to answer with one question, or with one. I'm gonna go deep into my childhood and say Chrono Cross. I don't
Ooh,
know
that
what
would be
that
cool.
speed run looks like at all, but I think that it would be fun to speed run that one.
Yeah. I think for me, and I asked the question, but I don't really necessarily know the answer. I think the obvious answer right now in my life would definitely be Kirby and the Forgotten Land because I'm just like learning the ins and outs of that game.
You're
And I think
100%ing it first, and then
I'm
you're gonna
100%ing
learn
it.
the route to
Yeah. Also,
100%.
update. I am at 88% on Kirby, so
Ooh,
we're chugging along,
getting there.
getting there. But yes, yeah, I think I would do Kirby and the Forgotten Land because I guess that's just the game I've become most innately familiar with, and that I clearly do not mind redoing. Although I will say, watching the Link's Awakening Switch speedrun made me really want to replay that game. So I could see myself becoming a Link's Awakening speedrunner as well.
Ooh, that's also a fun one with the glitches. I think the one
Yeah.
that we watched was glitchless, right?
It was,
Because it
which
was
was
a
so
race.
it was so frustrating. I was like, I want to see the glitches though. This is annoying because we've only seen, so the one they played was the Switch version, the one that I played all the first time, and last GDQ, so the Awesome Games Done Quick, which is in the winter, they did a Link's Awakening, but it was the old one, which is pretty similar to this game, but obviously the glitches are going to be different because they're on different platforms and they've been programmed differently. So I want to see a glitch full Link's Awakening. I could really see myself running that. I will say, speaking of like choosing games to run, I was saying last night that some of these gamers really are like must be so like physically able to do this because some of them just go so fast and the graphics are old because they're old games, and I'm just like, how are you not so sick? Like, even some of the announcers were saying, "Oh, I'm getting dizzy." Like for some of them, like, man, there is some games I just could not do. So that's why I know that like the style of like Lynx and Kirby are such that even if I'm going really fast, I'm not gonna feel sick about it.
Yep. I just want to point out or shout out Legend of Zelda Wind Waker speed run, which involves
Oh,
very quickly flipping direction quite
oh
a
my
lot.
gosh.
So it was like very flashy, very disoriented. Like you would see obviously one screen, then another screen, and it would be like that swapping like every like 3 frames, like so
Yeah,
fast
that was
and
a really fun run,
a
but
little
like
sick.
whenever they were swimming, I just like couldn't watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another thing that factors into my choice of what I would do. All right. Well, now that we've talked all about SGDQ and all of our lovely fun, we thought we want to give you all something familiar, something to hold on to from our regular podcast.
Yeah, we're returning to our normal schedule.
Yes. Back to normal. We are going to do our rapid fire round, especially after seeing all these games. I mean, we must be inspired, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we want to do the speedrun version in honor of GDQ? Do we want to do 3 minutes instead of 5?
I think that would be very good.
Okay, boom. I set the timer for 3 minutes.
Okay, amazing. So, just as a refresher, if this is the first time you've ever listened to our show, we do rapid fire round where we are going to come up with a game idea based on 3 random words that I will generate. And we'll have, because this is a speed run version, we're going to have only 3 minutes to come up with a game. We have to use all 3 words, though we can stretch the definition pretty much as we want.
We can
Only
glitch the definition, if you
we can
will.
glitch it. Yes, this is not a glitchless run. All right, here we go. Da, 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 da. And the first 3 words are minimum,
Okay.
rest,
Minimum rest.
and cane, like cane, cane.
Okay. So my first thought was this would be a game that is meant to be almost speed ran,
Mm-hmm.
where
Oh,
where
surprise.
the minimal rest part is that you basically are constantly doing like when you're on a level you have to get through as fast as possible, whether it's an auto scroller
I
or
think, okay, wait, I like this. Let's not do auto scroller though, because that's like expected.
fair.
I like minimum rest in the sense of like, if you stop moving, there's some kind of bar that starts to go down.
Oh, yeah, like an adrenaline bar or
Yeah,
something.
so it's like you can stop and think, but not for very long. And then different levels could have different lengths of that. So like as you go, it gets more and more challenging.
Yep. I don't know how to incorporate the cane idea into this because that almost hits the opposite idea.
It could be the weapon they use.
Oh, okay. So
Like it
like
could be
you're
like
a
a
guy with a cane.
yeah, like a Malfoy cane with like you could get like different like attachments, like a spike or like a gun or like, you know.
I like this. Or maybe even they're just like cosmetic, like you have a dragon head, an
Oh
owl
yeah.
head,
Yeah.
or the cane could also be like a
Well,
magic wand.
the owl head could make you fly a little, like a like extra boost
Yeah.
jump. You know, there's some cool things.
All right. And then so
I
all
picture it
right.
looking like Mario, kind of like Mario.
So are we thinking 2D platformer,
Yeah,
which regardless of graphics, this is gameplay wise.
yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, maybe it's just because I've been playing Super Mario Maker, but yeah.
2D platformer, which strongly encourages you to never stop moving.
Yes,
Okay, that is what we've got.
I gotta
And
name it.
can, so, I mean, the naming is always the hard part for me. And I want to do something with breakneck because you're breakneck
Oh,
speed.
yeah.
But that doesn't incorporate anything except for like a vague idea of the gameplay. I don't know if you've got an idea to maybe jump off that or if you had another core
Mm.
idea.
I mean, I like honestly minimum rest sounds fun, but
I
maybe
was
we could,
also thinking that.
yeah, like let's just call it minimum rest. That's a game.
Okay.
That's good.
Minimum rest, boom. We've got 30 seconds left on the
That's a
clock.
good
That was
job.
a 2 minute 30.
Speed run. I do want to. Oh, we should say time at the end. That's how they end a
Oh,
speed run. They go
yes.
time.
Yeah. And time.
I did want to say I didn't say it before because I knew we were speedrunning this, but when I said the word minimum, it reminded me, and I think people will enjoy this fact about me. So my very first laptop, it ran Windows. It was a Windows. It was a PC, and you could change the sounds that it made when you did things. And this was the early 2000s, so obviously we loved having sounds on our tech, which we don't anymore.
Yeah.
um,
I want silence at all times.
and you know what I did, because you could upload your own sounds, like you didn't have to just use the computer sounds, you could upload your own sounds. So I recorded myself saying words that were happening.
Incredible.
So one of them, when I said minimum, it reminded me because I said minimize. Whenever you minimize a window, it would say minimize.
Wow. Did you know you're a dork? What's going on here?
And then I also said maximize. That's what it sounded like.
Wow.
And then I had restore and it went restore.
Wow. Okay. All
So
right.
yeah, I
Perfect.
recorded
Yes.
my own voice on my computer to do those things. That's what I did. I also had like an app or something that made it sound like my key. I was typing on a typewriter when I used my keyboard. So basically, my computer was incredibly annoying,
Okay. Yes.
but I made it happen. All right, are you ready for the next 3 words?
Wait, give me a second. I gotta open. I gotta cancel. Yes, I am ready.
Here we go. The words are cave, attitude,
Cave attitude
and insight.
and insight. Cave.
Okay, no, I have an
Cave.
idea.
Okay.
I'm in it. I think you're a teen.
Okay.
That's the attitude part. And you have to
Yes.
go to a cave to like learn about like empathy or like how not to have attitude.
Okay. So this is one of those kind of okay. All right. So this is like an introspective kind of game.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that it's got kind of a slower. So, well, I say that this makes me think it's got a slower gameplay feel, but then I think of Celeste, which is a very fast-paced game, which also has a similar kind of introspective kind of
Yeah.
theme.
And I think like yeah, a lot of games like Lila's has kind of an introspective theme, I feel.
Okay. So wait. Let me cave attitude and what was the last one?
Insight.
Insight. Cave attitude and insight. So all right. You're a
You're like
teenager who
yeah.
goes into a cave.
And exits the cave with more insight. Maybe it's just like you go like something compels you to go to the cave, like whatever it is. Maybe your sibling is missing. I don't know. and then through it you open your worldview, so you're no longer, because I feel like that is why teens have attitude, because they like really are like, this I am the center of the universe. Like, I know
So
everything.
like I think for like I'm getting a bunch of story ideas, but I don't know what the actual gameplay looks like.
Okay.
So like you enter the cave, there's a cave in, you have to go through the
Yeah.
trials of the cave to
Yeah.
get out another exit.
Yeah.
But is this like a first person survival game like
No,
Subnautica
no, I
or
don't
No
think
Man's
so.
Sky?
I would say it's either third person or 2D.
Okay, 2D. I could see this as a 2D platformer. Cave gives you a nice excuse for why the platforms are set up in the way they are, because
Oh, yeah.
a platformer world often seems very strange. Like, why are things set up like this? Why are there like
Yeah.
floating platforms? Why is it like none of this really makes sense until you're inside and you're like, okay, this can be like a pyramid or whatever. But inside a cave, I think that makes sense. Um, and then maybe just classic platforming. Well, how about a Metroidvania? So there's different power ups in different points of the cave. So you see a ledge that's too high early on, but then you find the double jump, so you can go back to that ledge that you saw and
Mhm.
double jump to the top. And we have 20 seconds left.
Oh
Let's
gosh.
not go overestimate here. Let's figure out a name.
That cave.
That cave,
Uh, Cave in.
cave, cave in to my life.
Cave into my life. Time.
Boom, time. 1 second left.
Oh my god. Oh my. All right. All right. All right. Are we ready for the
Yes,
final rapid fire round of this episode?
I am.
Doo-doo-doo. The three words are storage,
Storage,
useful,
useful.
and what I think might be the most important one, sugar.
Storage, useful, sugar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah, boy. My first idea is a puzzle game where baking
Oh,
ingredients
mm-hmm.
fall from the top and you have to all right, so
Wait,
all right,
wait, 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 wait,
I've
wait.
just fully manifested an idea, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Can I? Is it okay?
Yes.
Because I thought of maybe like going off of your idea. So you have like this like completely unorganized storage, and your neighbor has come to ask for the sugar. And so each one has like a different location for the sugar, and you have to move around, kind of like those parking games. Like you have to move the other items around to find the sugar in time before your neighbor gets frustrated.
Oh, okay. Okay, I like this because it gives you like a reason why like the level is timed. It gives you it. All right, so the gameplay is you shuffling around the organization.
Yeah, like I see it like you could do PC or like you know, you would be using like arrow keys or something like that. Or like an arrow pad, and you have to like shuffle around the
Okay.
items.
Now, how similar to like those sliding tile puzzles where you
Yeah,
have to
pretty
like,
similar. That's like what I'm
okay.
imagining pretty much.
Okay, so like you start off with certain empty spaces and you have to
Mhm.
organize things to get the sugar to a place where you can like pull it out safely.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All
Boom.
right. I
Give me
think
some
it's
sugar.
yeah,
Get
that's it. I was gonna go right there. Time.
time. A minute and 15
Oh wow, nice,
left.
nice, nice, nice. What
Boom.
was your since I know we did it, we were going fast, but like what was your other idea? Just curious.
So I was thinking, the story is you open up the pantry and
Mhm.
all of your stuff falls out. You've
Oh,
got an enormously large pantry, so you catch things as they're falling, and then you
oh, okay.
also have to. So here's the trick of it, though. You have to organize things. Like you have to put them down safely, like on the side. Not necessarily organize them, but like when they're in your hands, they're in your hands. You have to move them to like the side of like the puzzle area,
Hmm.
but you also have to keep the ingredients that you actually need for the recipe that you're making.
Okay.
So you're like doing this weird balancing act of, oh, the sugar, like you can't let anything drop. The more things that you drop, the closer you are to like failing the level, uh or like ending the level in general.
Yeah, definitely.
But you also
Definitely,
can't keep everything in your hands, but you do need to keep some things in your hands. So
definitely feels a lot more complicated, but
yeah, no,
cool.
it would be, and it's like one of those things where it's like hard to describe. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you also had an idea, because I don't think I would have made it through the
In
speed
the
run.
amount of time we had. Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you all for listening to our super speed run recap, which was not a speed run episode because we took a regular amount of time to talk about it. If you want to shout us out, let us know something, check out what we're posting because we do post sometimes. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Make That Game Pod. And if you want to send us an email of any words you want us to make a game from, games you want us to try so we can honk and bonk them, which we did not do this episode, but we usually do, or any other thing you think we'd like to know, you can email us at makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com. And if you heard a game that you thought you think should exist in this great wide world of games, we encourage you to get out there and
Make
make that
that game.
game.